Kamala signals she's open to spending trillions on racial reparations. Here we go again. It's exhausting. But your taxes aren't gonna go up. Then how are you gonna pay for this, you idiot? Huh, Kamala? How are you gonna pay for it? I hate to say money doesn't grow on trees, but Democrats and maybe Joe himself thinks it does. So Vice President Kamala Harris signaled during an interview on Tuesday that she was open to spending taxpayer money on racial reparations, which studies show would cost trillions of dollars. Some of these people that are asking for reparations are asking about $200 million per each black person. Now, I went ahead in an old video and ran the numbers for you. There is not, and I mean this in all literal sense, it's so crazy that there's actually not enough wealth on the planet. I ran the numbers. There is not enough wealth on the entire earth as this planet exists to pay for it. This is how stupid these people are, and they're not able to rationalize things whatsoever. It's a constant theme from this party, the Democrat Party, to shout stuff to the skies and no brain power to figure out how you're going to pay for it and how it works. Well, Democrats, you want another, because you know there's some in here, right? They always slip their way in here. You want another example? AOC's Green New Deal. Not enough money in the United States to pay for it. But it sounds good, right? It gets the votes because people are stupid enough to believe it. It has been studied. There's no question about that. So here's that clip of her. God, it was a rough interview. It's just another rough interview. I'm considering a plan to force U.S. taxpayers to pay for reparations. Here we go.
So my agenda, well, first of all, on the point of reparations, it has to be studied. There's no question about that. And I've been very clear about that position. In terms of my immediate plan, I will tell you a few of the following. One, as it relates to the economy, which is a lot of what you have addressed. Look, I grew up in the middle class. My mother, worked hard, raised me and my sister, and by the time I was in high school, she was able to afford our first home. I know what it means for an individual and a family to have home ownership. I also know, in the context of history, nobody got 40 acres and a mule. So my agenda...
It really is exhausting, you guys. It is freaking exhausting. I don't know, it's exhausting for all of you guys having to listen to this lady each and every day. And that's why we need Donald Trump to win this November, so that we don't have to listen to her anymore. She's terrible. She sucks at her job. And I hope she doesn't come back to my home state of California. Keep her somewhere else. Can we send her maybe to Iran? She loves funding the Iranians. Did you all hear that report the other day? I should have it queued up. There's a report that she's in bed with basically the Iranians, not physically, because we all heard rumors of how she actually arose to her ascension to the vice presidency or attorney general in California. We all, no pun intended there. But she's been working with the Iranians. And by the way, there's also rumors that just came out that she's also willing to work with the Chinese and basically give them a bunch of United States information. So that also came out within 24 hours. There's just so much news that I have to pull off the top of my head that I can't show you guys everything. And I think you're understanding of that there's only an hour that we have here, and we could possibly do a multi-hour podcast just siphoning through all the news. She goes as far to say here that Donald Trump is a dictator after she just said that she wants to force taxpayers to pay for somebody else's injustices in the past and to pay for those people that had the justices committed against them that are no longer even living anymore. So here's her saying Donald Trump's a dictator. Unbelievable. Just listen to the scummy, slimy evilness of this woman.
Donald Trump would go into the Department of Justice and manipulate it in such a way that it would be used as a weapon against his political enemies.
Yeah, he's going to lock y'all up if he gets back in office.
Well, by the way, you should look at his words. I don't think that you as a journalist should feel so sure that
100%. I'm out of here.
Journalists, judges, others. And you know who does that? Dictators do that. Other countries do that.
She's an idiot. She's the one that used the DOJ to go after Donald Trump and the political opponents. Because I'll tell you what, this administration, as well as the Obama administration, And Harris's future administration, God forbid that ever happens, sat there and utilized the IRS to go after their political opponents, conservatives, Republicans. It was the DOJ. It was the FBI. It was the Democrat Party that sat there and locked up congregation members for attending services when we were at the height of COVID in terms of when they were in office, the Democrats. Remember how they were locking up pastors as well as priests for sitting there wanting to preach the word, which is their God-given right in this country, and they started locking them up? Remember how you could have gotten a hot dog 10 blocks away from January 6th, and all of a sudden you're in court and arrested for having a hot dog just around January 6th? Don't give me this crap, Kamala. You sat there and used the FBI to raid Mar-a-Lago. All the while, you are still in office with a guy that had classified documents when he was neither vice president or a senator, but nobody wants to talk about that. I mean, hell, this guy was so far off his rocker that he put classified documents next to his Corvette and said that it's totally locked up like it's Fort Knox. At least Donald Trump had him hidden away. I mean, Joe Biden's like, I had documents in my garage. I have a garage. It gets worse. It gets worse. She said, voter made really important point that Trump may put minorities in camps. I'm telling you, they are desperate, you guys. And that's why Democrats are sitting there trying to take a bunch of spaghetti and throw it at the wall to see what sticks. He's a racist. He's a bigot. He's a xenophobe. There was no a peaceful transfer of power. He's a threat to the country. You had the dude from Joe Scarborough of Morning News, Joe Morning News, or whatever the hell his stupid show is called, coming out about a year ago and saying that Donald Trump's going to start executing people in the streets if he's elected president.
If he is voted into office, then a lot of these people that are talking about literal or figurative or whatever the hell they're saying, you're going to look like idiots because he will get away with, he will imprison, he will execute whoever he's allowed to imprison, execute, drive from the country.
This is how off. That's an exact quote almost, by the way. They're so far gone. It is wild. I mean, it's not uncommon for them to do this. Remember when Barack Obama and Joe Biden, I believe it was Barack Obama, said that Mitt Romney wants to put you all back in chains? I think it might have been Joe Biden. I can't remember. They both say crazy ass things. It's common for the Democrats to pull this type of shenanigans. By the way, it's actually literally right now the Democrats, Joe Biden, that are putting minorities, specifically illegal immigrants, in camps because there's not enough room. They've had to actually create camps for these people. It's astonishing. It's astonishing. Like, whatever they sit there and project onto Donald Trump, it's they themselves that are doing all these things. So the remarks were made during a radio interview that Harris had with Charlemagne the God, where she answered questions about her agenda. Could you please respond to Trump's claim that he's going to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, by the way, to round up immigrants if he wins the election? A person who identified themselves as Bobby from Georgia asked Harris. This law was last used to put Asian Americans in internment camps during World War II. And I have a sneaking suspicion that if Trump wins, he's going to use this law to put anyone that doesn't look white into camps, and I'm scared. They're desperate. This is what happens when you are in desperation mode, folks. You start saying crazy shit. Again, he was president for 4 years. None of this happened. People were thriving. Everybody was thriving. Actually, the world was pretty much thriving. Everybody's pretty much peaceful. I understand you have psychos out there doing heinous things, but for the most part, things were going pretty well for everybody. And now he's going to start locking people up. It's going to be crazy. He's going to be executing people in the streets, locking up his political opponents. Now, I'll be fair here. If you think Donald Trump isn't going to sit there and get somebody in the office of the attorney general to go after Democrats in the same way they went after him, you're sorely mistaken. I hope this guy sits there and uses the full justice of the law to ream you Democrats for 4 years. I'm okay with FBI. I'm tired of this whole bullshit where we got to play fair, you guys. I'm sorry. It's not cutesy time anymore. I'm tired. Brett Byers' show tonight, which I'm going to try to go live, he better not be effing around. I don't want this whole, hey, you know what? ABC, CBS, CNN, yeah, they may have not played fair. You know, they may have sat there and were unbiased, but we're going to sit there and rise above the occasion. Screw that, Brett. Screw that. Now's the time to whip her ass into shape a little bit here, smack her around a little bit with your questions, and expose her for all this crap. I'm telling you what, if I don't hear anything about the 320,000 children, a lot of talk about illegal immigration, a lot of talk about inflation, if I don't hear anything about her covering up Joe Biden's cognitive decline, I'm done with Fox. I am done, because that's bullshit. To not sit there and bring that stuff up, I want to hear about her brother-in-law allegedly taking taxpayer money and embezzling it. I want to sit there and hear about the Biden family corruption. I want to hear her speak on behalf of herself and the rest of the administration why they covered up that guy's cognitive decline for 4 years. And you want to know why? Because if they don't bring that up, that means Brett Baier, Fox News, sold out Republicans, conservatives, and the American people for not bringing that stuff up, because they would have signed the same contract that ABC did that said they could not bring that stuff up. Why did she suck at her job as Attorney General? Why did you sit there and allow criminals to be roaming free in the state of California that committed atrocious crimes across the state? But you're going to sit there and lecture us that I'm the only prosecutor on stage that's actually prosecuted criminals. Maybe you're right, but you also allowed a lot of people out in the same way you're allowing a lot of criminals to sit there and run roughshod over American towns, cities, localities, and killing people, and I'm pissed about it. So Brett tonight better show up.